Hello everybody, it's Root Beer. I had a silly idea for an April Fool's video, several days after April Fool's. But I am creatively bankrupt, so I'm going to make this idea anyways. Welcome to the history of Dragonic Overlord. First we have Dragonic Overlord. This was a grade 3 unit that lost 2,000 power if you did not have another Kagero Vanguard or Rearguard. It also has an act ability on Vanguard or Rearguard to Counterblast 3, and it gains 5,000 power, and it gains the ability when its attack hits an opponent Rearguard, stand this unit, and it loses Twin Drive. Also, it was an 11k base, which is an important distinction because not every unit in early Vanguard had standard power levels. This card did see play because it was introduced in the first set of Vanguard. There was a combination with Mr. Invincible that allowed you to use its skill multiple times on the rearguard circle, so that was kind of neat. Next we have Dragonic Overlord the End. This is another grade 3 11k unit. If you have a non-Kagero unit, it loses 2,000 power. If you have Dragonic Overlord in your soul, this unit gains 2,000 power. And then auto on Vanguard Circle, you can Counterblast 2 and discard a card named Dragonic Overlord the End from your hand. When this unit's attack hits, you may pay the cost to stand this unit. This card was incredibly powerful and was one of the top 3 meta decks of its time. It was so powerful, in fact, that Bushiroad had to ban it so that limit break cards would see play. It continued to see meta relevance after being unbanned throughout several points in Vanguard's history. Truly one of the most powerful and iconic cards ever printed. Next we have Dragonic Overlord, Break Ride, another grade 3 11k unit. It has a limit break 4 ability active when you have 4 or more damage. When another Kagero unit rides on top of this unit, you can give your Vanguard 10,000 power and the ability Counterblast 1, discard a Kagero from your hand. At the end of the battle that it attacked a rearguard, you can pay the cost. If you do stand this unit, this ability cannot be used for the rest of the turn. Even if you do not pay the cost, this ability cannot be used for the rest of the turn. This was back in the day when once per turn did not make any sense. It also has another skill that when it attacks, if you have more rear guards than your opponent, it gets power plus 2,000 until end of battle. It also has the Lord ability, where if you have a unit without the same clan as it cannot attack, because this was in the day when Bushiroad really wanted to introduce clan fight, but did not actually enforce clan fight yet. This card certainly exists. I suppose you do play it with Dragonic Overlord the Rebirth. Speaking of, here is Dragonic Overlord the Rebirth. Another grade 3 11k unit. Who would have guessed? It has a limit break 4 where you can counterblast 1 and choose one or more of your Kagero rearguards and lock them. If the number of locked cards you have is 5 or more, until end of turn this unit gets power plus 10,000. And then red text, choose 2 Kageros from your hand and discard them. At the end of the battle that this unit attacked a Vanguard, you may pay the cost. If you do, stand it, and then the ability cannot be used for rest of turn even if you do not pay the cost. And then if you have Dragonic Overlord in your soul, it gets power plus 2,000. And it also has the Lord restriction. I believe this card was playable during its format. However, whenever we talk about this time period of Vanguard, we inevitably bring up the fact that Dragonic Overlord the End had its first resurgence into the meta, which inevitably overshadows this card. Next we have Perdition Emperor Dragon, Dragonic Overlord the Great. Get used to these names becoming longer and weirder. This is another grade 3 unit. It has the Legion ability with Perdition Dragon, Dragonic Neoflame. Legion is an ability where if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, you can return 4 cards from your drop zone and then search out the specified card and put it on your Vanguard circle as a Legion mate. It then had the skill to counterblast 1 and discard 2 cards. At the end of the battle that it attacked a rearguard, if it is in Legion, stand it. And then the ability cannot be used for rest of turn even if you don't pay the cost. It has a second auto ability to choose one of your rearguards with the same name as a unit on your Vanguard and retire it. When this unit's attack hits, you can pay the cost and retire one of your opponent's rearguards. This card certainly exists. Next we have Dragonic Overlord, the Cross. It is a Legion with Dragonic Overlord, the End. It is a grade 3 with 11k power, and it has an ability that when it legions, you can search your deck for a card with the same name as a unit on your Vanguard circle, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. It has a second auto ability to counterblast 1 and choose a card named Dragonic Overlord, the Cross, from your hand and discard it. At the end of the battle that this unit attacked, if the attack did not hit during that battle, you may pay the cost, choose up to 2 of your opponent's rearguards, and retire them. This Legion allowed Dragonic Overlord, the End, to see another resurgence into the meta because of the low power level of early G. And then we have Supreme Heavenly Emperor Dragon, Dragonic Overlord, the Ace. It is a grade 4 unit with 15 plus because it is a stride unit, and stride units take the power of the Heart card, which is your grade 3 Vanguard from before you strode. It has an act ability to counterblast 2, choose a face down card, name Supreme Heavenly Emperor Dragon, Dragonic Overlord the Ace, from your G-Zone, and turn it face up. If the number of face-up cards in your G-Zone is 2 or more, until the end of turn, this unit gets Drive -1 and red text, Vanguard Circle once per turn. Choose a card from your hand and discard it. Choose a card with Overlord in its card name from your hand and discard it. At the end of the battle that this unit attacked a Vanguard, you may pay the cost. If you do, stand this unit and it gets power plus 5,000 until the end of turn. This card was decently powerful for the era it was printed. Early G era was rather weak, so this was a decent finisher for the time. Although Counterblast 2 would be quite expensive by late G era, so I would argue that this card did not age particularly well. Though it did see play well into late G era and was featured in topping lists for the World Champion deck lists in 2017. Next we have Dragonic Overlord, the Legend. It is another grade 3 with 11k power. It has an act on Vanguard Circle once per turn. Generation Break 2, which is when you have 2 or more face-up G units in your G-Zone or on your Vanguard Circle. Counterblast 1, choose a grade 3 or greater Flame Dragon from your hand and discard it. Until the end of turn, this unit gets power plus 15,000, grade plus 1, drive plus 1, and auto once per turn on the Vanguard Circle. Choose 3 cards from your hand and discard them. At the end of the battle that this unit attacked a rearguard, you may pay the cost to stand this unit. And then it had a second effect, auto, Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1. When this unit is placed on the Vanguard Circle, you may pay the cost. If you do, look at top 5 cards of your deck, search for up to 1 Flame Dragon from among them, reveal it to your opponent, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. Upon its initial release, I'm pretty sure this card only saw play because it was in a Legend deck. I'm pretty sure, at the time, people preferred the Cross-End Legion because it was better. Though in late G era, once Overlord became more stride-focused, This card saw play over the Crossend Legion. Speaking of stride focus, we have Dragonic Overlord, the Destiny. I swear to God, these names. It is yet another grade 3 with 11k power. It has an auto ability on the Vanguard Circle, Soul Blast 1. When it is placed on the Vanguard Circle from your hand or at the beginning of your ride phase, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose any circle other than the Vanguard. Put all cards on that circle into the drop zone. This card chooses circles and not units, so it bypasses resist. It also specifies cards and not units, so it could also retire locked cards. This is Yu-Gi-Oh! Levels of pedantic bullshit. It also has a second ability, Auto Vanguard Circle, Counterblast 1. When your G unit strides, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose one of your opponent's rear guards, retire it, look at top 7 cards of your deck, reveal up to 1 card with Overlord in its card name from among them, put it in your hand, and shuffle your deck. As previously stated, that first skill is very versatile and got around several forms of defense that would stop retiring. The stride skill is also a generic retire that got you another copy of Overlord to use for your various stride unit abilities. This was a very powerful stride boss. Next we have Supreme Heavenly Emperor Dragon Dragonic Overlord, the Purge. Oh boy, another really long, weird name. This is a stride unit, so it is grade 4, 15k plus. Has an act on the Vanguard Circle once per turn. You can choose a face down card from your G zone, turn it face up, choose a card with Overlord in its card name from your hand, and put it in your soul. Number of cards in your opponent's damage is 4 or less. Deal 1 damage to your opponent's Vanguard. Trigger effects are nullified. It has a continuous skill, Generation Break 3. It has the same number of drive as damage in your opponent's damage zone, so you could just burn your opponent for free with no downsides, and also gain a bunch of drive checks. This card was really powerful, and helped Overlord to become meta in late G. We are still not done yet, because Dragonic Overlord has a million retrains. I'm starting to think this video was a bad idea. Now we have Dragonic Overlord V series. You will be shocked to learn that it is a grade 3. It has 13k power because that is the new standard for V, and it has a force marker, a new mechanic introduced in V. It allowed you to put a force gift, which gave one of your units 10k power, or if you choose force 2, it increased the original critical to 2, and you could stack multiple force gifts to keep increasing the power gain. Anyways, its skills are Act, Vanguard or Rearguard Circle, once per turn. You can Soul Blast 1, and this unit gains power plus 10,000 until the end of turn. It also had an auto ability on Vanguard Circle, once per turn. When its attack hits, Counterblast 1, discard 2. Stand this unit, and it gets drive -1 until end of turn. An on-hit restand is decently powerful for a first set of a new series. This card did see play in early V. However, it was mostly as an acceptable first ride when your real finisher option was Dragonic Waterfall. And then we have Dragonic Overlord, the Great. It is another grade 3, who would have guessed. It has 13k power, and a force marker. It has 2 skills. The first one is Auto on the Vanguard Circle. When placed, call up to 1 Dragonic Neoflame from your drop zone to Rearguard Circle, and then Auto Vanguard Circle once per turn. At the end of the battle that it attacked, if your soul has a grade 3, Counterblast 1, discard 2 cards from your hand, stand this unit and one of your Dragonic Neoflame, and they get drive -1 until end of turn. This card exists. Next we have Dragonic Overlord The End, V series. Surprise, surprise, it is a grade 3 with 13k power and a force marker. It has an auto ability on Vanguard Circle. At the end of the battle it attacked, activate one of the effects below, but you cannot activate the same effect for the same turn. If your hand has 4 or less cards, Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, stand this unit, and it gets drive -1 until end of turn. Or, if your soul has a card with Overlord in its card name, discard 3 cards from your hand, stand this unit, it gets power plus 10,000, and drive -1 until end of turn. This card had a high potential ceiling with its double restand. However, it did not truly come into its own until Dragonic Overlord The Cross V Series. Act on Vanguard Circle once per turn. Soul Blast 1. Search your deck for up to 1 card with Overlord in its name. That's name is different from this unit's name. Put it into your soul. Shuffle your deck. And this unit gets all of that card's names and abilities until the end of turn. It also had 2 continuous effects, both on the Vanguard Circle. The first one is, when a card effect would count the number of cards in your hand, it is regarded as 0. The second is, if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, this unit's drive cannot become 0 or less. This card is very powerful. It allowed Dragonic Overlord the End to truly shine because the continuous effects mitigate its downsides. It still sees competitive success to this day because it is a gamble deck that can sometimes just crit your opponent to death with its double restand. That was somehow still not the end. We still have the D-era retrains as well as a couple joke promos. First we have Dragonic Overlord The Turnabout. It is yet another grade 3 with 13k and a force marker. Its skill reads, Auto, Vanguard Circle, once per turn. At the end of the battle it attacked, Counterblast 1, discard 2 cards from your hand. Stand all of your front row units with Overlord in their names, and this unit gets drive -1. And if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, all of your front row units with Overlord in their card name get power plus 10,000. This was a joke promo that got printed in a revival selection, so it is legal in EN format. Nobody uses it. Then we have Dragonic Overlord The Victory. It only has 10,000 power, but it is still a grade 3. Its skill reads, Act, Vanguard Circle, Soul Blast 6 cards with Overlord in their card names, and deal 6 damage to your opponent's Vanguard. This is a prize card that is not legal to play. On to the D series, because we are not off Dragonic Overlord's wild ride. First we have Dragonic Overlord D series. It is a grade 3 with 13k power, and it has the Persona Ride ability, where if you ride a copy of a card with the same name, you draw a card, and your front row gets 10,000 power continuously. It has 2 skills. The first is continuous, Vanguard Rearguard Circle. During the battle this unit attacked a rearguard, your opponent cannot call cards from their hand to the guard circle. And then auto, Vanguard Circle, once per turn. When this unit's attack hits, Counterblast 1, discard a card from your hand, stand this unit, and it gets drive -1. The intended use of this card is to guarantee hit a rearguard and restand, though you could potentially hit the Vanguard and get a restand that way. This card was just powerful enough to be a comfortable tier 2 during its introduction. It sure was a solid 3rd pick for a team tournament. At least it's better than Eugene, I guess. And finally, we have Dragonic Overlord The End D series. It is a grade 3 with 13k power and Persona Ride. It has a continuous ability on the Vanguard Circle. If your soul has Dragonic Overlord, this unit's drive cannot decrease from card effects, and it gets power plus 5,000. It has a second ability, Auto, Vanguard Circle, once per turn. At the end of the battle that this unit attacked, Counterblast 1, discard 2 cards from your hand, stand this unit, and it gets drive -1 until end of turn. This card was just released a few days ago at the time of this recording. Therefore, it is hard to judge its meta relevance at this current moment. Compared to other restanders in the game, it has a higher cost of discard 2 instead of 1. However, unlike Fortia and Thagria, there are no restrictions on its ability to restand. So I assume the extra discard is meant as a balancing factor. I imagine that it is a solid enough deck, being able to restand immediately at grade 3 if you choose to use it in the ride deck. I imagine it'll be a decent card because of that, and it still has access to all of its old support because these cards were allowed to be generic. Yeah, screw you. This is a rant video now. Yeah, Nahalem and Berserk Dragon are allowed to just say Overlord on it, but I can't run Urger in my grade 4 Nirvana deck. You think I still want to be crutching on Valiant 4 sets later? Hell no. If I could use Urger, I would take it in a heartbeat. And yes, I know that these cards were also designed to be used in Premium, but I have an SP Urger and I want to use it, goddammit. Thank you to our $10 patrons, Darren G, Cole Green, Josh Danielson, Jeremy Lyons, and Mewwill. If you like our content, consider supporting us on Patreon, patreon.com/nexusatnight. $5 or more and you get a whole ass bonus show. You can also follow us on Nexus at Night. You can follow me at Plasma Eclipse. You can follow Atlas on Twitter and Instagram at Atlas Novak. You can follow Matt at Wiggums, 2Gs, 2Zs. I think we also made a TikTok or something. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.